Polls show more people today are doubting the validity of the Bible. Most issues deal with the reliability of the text or the accuracy of the various translations. In our nation's capital is an archaeological treasure that puts those doubts to rest. CBN News correspondent Amber Strong takes us there.
Once kept under lock and key, portions of the Dead Sea Scrolls are here at DC's Museum of the Bible, removing all obscurity and open for all to see.
You can take a journey to the past, to the shores of Qumran, land of the Essenes, and home to one of mankind's greatest discoveries, the Dead Sea Scrolls, which contain the oldest copies of biblical text in existence.
Some will try to say King Tut's treasures were a greater archaeological discovery, and they truly are stunning. But the Dead Sea Scrolls still impact the way people read Scripture today.
Spread across 11 caves in ancient Judea, the Dead Sea Scrolls are considered one of the greatest archaeological finds in history and reveal some of the deepest mysteries of early Christianity.
In 1947, a Bedouin shepherd was out. The story has taken over legendary qualities over the years, but according to some of the early accounts, he was looking for a lost sheep, threw some rocks into a cave, heard a crack, and then realized, I need to come back and figure out what was in that cave.
From there, an archaeological race to uncover the next treasure began, with each new cave unveiling something more.
When they were initially discovered, the first scholars working on the scrolls, who did amazing work in piecing together this puzzle of documents that were fragmentary, actually caused a lot of additional damage to the scrolls unknowingly.
Dr. Joe Azil leads the Dead Sea Scrolls unit at the Israel Antiquities Authority. Since the early 90s, it has served as keepers of the treasure, conserving the scrolls in a climate-controlled facility designed to match the condition of the Judean caves. The displays here are kept under similar conditions with strict protocols, down to the lighting inside the exhibition.
They're placed on exhibition here for only 3 months. Every 3 months, we come in and we switch the scrolls with a new set of scrolls because in order to conserve the scrolls, we can display them for 3 months that they're exposed to light, and then they have to rest for 5 years in our safe room.
The ancient texts dating back to 300 BC were transcribed by the Essenes, a monastery-like community, and include portions of 38 of 39 of the Old Testament books, along with other readings such as the Book of Enoch.
There's even one called the War Scroll that talks about this cosmic end times battle between their community and a group called the Kittim, which most scholars think is the Romans, because I think they saw in their community as they would rise up against the Roman Empire and eventually kind of usher in a messianic age.
They also provide insight into the people of Qumran, contemporaries of Jesus and the apostles.
To think that we're looking at things that were in existence and being read by a community at the same time Jesus and the disciples were visiting Jerusalem or going to the Sea of Galilee, it really kind of makes your, kind of gives you goosebumps to think about that.
The scrolls help us understand issues that are going on in Jesus's life, in his ministry, what people are talking about.
Scholars like Dr. Craig Evans, who studied the scrolls for decades, say the fact that these texts are nearly identical to the Bible we read should offer assurance to Christians.
The Dead Sea Scrolls don't contradict anything. In other words, the Dead Sea Scrolls don't embarrass Bible believers. The Dead Sea Scrolls don't show that there's some kind of mistake in Scripture.
It does make you sit there and say that 2,000 years ago, a community was reading the book of Psalms, was getting inspiration from Psalm 23, just like I would read it today. And it just shows you the timelessness of the biblical story.
From the caves of Judea to Washington, D.C., a word that will stand forever.
The Museum of the Bible is the only remaining North American stop where you can see the scrolls, and they will remain on display until September of 2026. Amber Strong, CBN News, Washington.
Let me underline, the Dead Sea Scrolls are identical to the Bible you and I have. And the scroll of Isaiah that is in a wonderful museum, you have to travel to Israel to see it, but as it's unfurled there, it's absolutely incredible to understand that the first time that was identified for what it was, that it was an ancient text of the book of Isaiah, it was on Independence Day. It's one of those incredible things only God can do. The very day the modern state of Israel declared its independence, an expert found that it was handed to him and he understood what he was looking at, which is why that text is in an Israeli museum, not a Jordanian museum. And here's the kicker. That very scroll said this: "Can a nation be born in a day?" Well, the Dead Sea Scrolls will remain on display at the Museum of the Bible until September this year. And if you're in Washington, D.C., I encourage you, go to the Museum of the Bible. Have all your doubts taken away when you see the sheer majesty of how these scriptures have been preserved, have been faithfully copied. If you can't make it to D.C., I've got something for you that has been an incredible labor of love. Aaron Zimmerman, a wonderful director, writer, producer, has put together a series called The Oracles of God. They're the one that's recently is all how we got the New Testament, how the New Testament is accurate. The one previous, volume 1, was on the Tanakh, the Old Testament, how the rabbis faithfully copied Scripture through centuries, through millennia, so that the Scripture we read today is identical to what David had 3,000 years ago, what Jesus and disciples had 2,000 years ago. Archaeology continually reinforces the accuracy of the text and the validity that these are eyewitness accounts of what God was doing and what he wanted to have be recorded for all mankind. If you want to watch it, it's real simple. Call us, 1-800-700-7000 for a gift of any dollar amount. We'll give you instant 4K access to it. You can also go to cbn.com/oracles. If you want, we can send you a DVD copy. You can also use that QR code. Either way, do it now and get informed. There's so many doubts in our modern culture, so many people saying you can't trust the translations. This will give you all the answers you need, how you can defend your faith, defend the validity of Scripture. The Bible we have today is identical to what Jesus and the disciples had 2,000 years ago. Get your copy, 1-800-700-7000.